Enough is enough.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Indie Wrestling Corner with another episode of Under the Ropes. I'm your host, as always, the queen of the Indies, Tiffany. We're back with another episode. We got the House of Straus.
That's right.
Straus, what's going on?
What's up? It's good to see you.
Yeah.
I'm always a fan of the effort, because I think even when I was a fan, I thought indie wrestling was really underappreciated. So I love what you do with it, and I'm very proud to be on the show, especially with some of the guests you've seen on here. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I know, I had said that, I was making my comeback and that we were going to bring some new names onto the podcast. Gabby came back, who you're very familiar with, so.
Yeah. Traitor, though.
What happened?
Never helps me at all. She set me up for failure the last cap show.
Oh, damn. Well,
yeah.
We'll talk about that, because I know that she left a question live on the podcast for you, which we're going to get into. But guys, if you're new to the Under Rope series here, I interview independent wrestling, whether it's wrestlers, referees, backstage promoters. I got you covered. If you guys got questions for Will, or some people like to call you Bill, which we'll get into and everything.
I'd prefer if you guys didn't, if you're watching, but I can't control it.
We're going to talk about all this stuff. So guys, make sure you hit the like button, share the stream. Let's get some people in here. Let's check some indie wrestling. So all right, so let's talk about, so for a fan that's never seen you before, let's talk about the House of Straus. Tell everybody a little bit about that.
Well, I think it's the greatest dynasty in wrestling. I think I've talked to some local people who write about wrestling. They said, I don't know, maybe let's look at it through a future lens. I choose not to believe that, but I think it's going to be one of those great groups akin to like a Horseman or a Bullet Club. All I just need to do is get some members, and then we're solid. But right now it's just me, and I think Party of One's pretty cool.
Party of One. Is there like that possibility that you're going to add on to the House of Straus?
Oh, I'm always looking. I do think there will be a day where there's at the very least a trio, because you know how big trios wrestling has been getting the last 3 years. But I'm willing to have however many people work well with me, because I think the best, like, entertainment, art, sport, all those things are collaborative. So I would love to have a group, genuinely.
So what are you looking for to make this group everything?
Definitely a good winning record. I think that would help me a lot. I really like diversity in groups. You know what I mean? I like to have. I guess I'm the brains, because I'm the leader. I have a lot of good ideas. You guys can check out my Instagram page for that. Definitely a muscle. I've noticed a lot of guys need a muscle. Love a great athlete. Kind of someone, cover all the bases in wrestling. Let's get a brawler. Let's get a high flyer. Some real diversity, so it can be a group that no one can touch,
Oh, I like that. A little bit of everything, pretty much, over there. I like that. All right, so let's talk about, we see in the background, we got the jacket,
That's right.
The jacket. So, it's all about gimmicks. So talk about how this came about. I think, like, there was somewhere, right? You were talking about how much it was and everything, I think, right?
Yeah. I remember a veteran told me, like, the fans make up your mind about you the first 5 seconds you step through the curtain. And when I started at Cap, it was like, I always knew I was going to be, I feel like I'm going to be a wrestler for the rest of my life. But, my parents I hold my parents' opinions in very high regard. They're like, don't be too sure. So I invested in very bland gear when I started. Your standard, black trunks, black kick pads, and whatever. And, I was just a dude in trunks. And, like, I saw recently, I watched a Joe Hendry interview, and he's like, you never want to be just, like, the dude in black trunks. And he said he was that at one point. And he's like, I got to do something about that. And I felt like the coat was a step in the right direction, because I think the best dressed man in wrestling ever is probably Randy Savage. And a lot of people like the cowboy stuff, but I liked when he had the giant, like, curtain cape thing that he came out with and spread across his full body. And I was like, okay, I can't sew. I didn't really know any gear makers at the time. So I found this coat. It was like the closest thing that I could find to my vision that I think would be unique. So, you see a lot of people on the indies with similar looking stuff. And it's funny because I feel like this would be such an obvious thing to like catch eyes, but
Mhm.
it wasn't something anyone else was doing, so I took it for myself, and I think it's worked out well because like at the very least, like people used to look at Will Straus and be like, oh, just guy in black trunks, whatever, like everyone else. And at least like now, when I come out, you can ID me with like, oh, Will Straus, he's the big rainbow jacket.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So I feel like, I know like probably I piss you off at like all the cap shows, that I have this thing, and I know the guys in the back are laughing at me too at my tweets.
I know. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I have to mess with you a little bit. I don't put people on my podcast, unless I like them or whatever. But, you come out with the ponytail, and then I always have to go for, literally, like, I'm outside of Cap, and I'm looking for the right photo. Like, I had one the other day at Cap TV, and then when you came out, I changed it. So I'm sitting there like, it's an effort with everybody. So.
Oh yeah, I saw it with the
cone
brace with the cone. Yeah.
I was like, I have to find.
I love my hair. I think my problem is I wish it was a more intimidating dog. Like, I don't know. Maybe I know they don't have that much hair, but like maybe we could find a rare like Rottweiler with some nice hair. That's how I think of myself. That's the dog in me. I don't know what breed you're picking, but I think a more intimidating one would get my cosign.
Okay, I'll try to upgrade it a little bit the next time I pick a dog photo. But I was just Googling, dog with a ponytail pretty much for it. So, we just read with that, so.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna talk a little bit about this because I know everybody wants to talk about this, and I see I see in the chat like house. They're saying there's a high tower. Say that 5 times fast. So all right, so let's talk about, because I saw some people were saying it on Twitter too. We got to talk about Vargas and this feud, and I feel like this is like the ongoing feud that will be forever feud. Is this going to be something that maybe he will join the House of Strauss one day? Or is he just going to keep coming at you, And even when we went live for this pod, he was like, he was going to see you soon. So.
It's been very tough. Like, my parents look at me and they're like, why are you such a loser? You're always losing this guy, and it's annoying. And I'm like, that's what I said. Like, people are interested in the rivalry. And my dad's like, I think he said something to the effect of like, well, you can't have a rivalry between a hammer and a nail, which I thought was pretty cruel. But I think one day, maybe in the future, because last Cap TV, Ariella Nix, she ordered that Vargas has to apologize to me in Lynbrook. So, maybe it goes a certain way. He apologizes and he sees that I have the vision with the House of Strauss. And, if he comes clean and apologizes for everything that came before this with us, I'd be willing to have him with me. You know what I mean? But as far as if I like this feud, no. I'm in a lot of pain.
Oh.
No shot. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. And I'm being messaged. So I'm live, people. You gotta wait. Anyway, I think they forgot. So, all right. So let's talk a little bit about Cap, because we talked in the beginning a little bit about Creative Pro. Basically like 10 years. We just had a couple of months ago. Big deal. This was huge. So talk a little about like how much that meant to you, and then we'll talk about the Rumble that went on.
It did mean a lot to me because obviously I haven't been watching Cap all those years because it's kind of hard to get into any wrestling as a child because you don't even know it exists. But when I was in high school, I discovered Cap, and I knew like, what year was it? I would say maybe 2017 is when I discovered Cap. And I thought the whole time, I was like, that's where I'm going to go to train to be a professional wrestler. It was the end all be all for me. I knew that was the place I wanted to go. So to be featured on the 10-year anniversary, especially in such a crowded match with, and I felt like I had a very memorable part of it, kind of started off with putting the spotlight on myself, which I feel very privileged that, I'm able to do that, and it did mean a lot to me. Like, I always tell certain guys, like, I loved watching them when I was in high school. Now it's cool because I get to wrestle a lot of them. I get to get advice from them and work with them. Like, one that blew my mind recently, like, Dante was always a personal favorite of mine, and getting to be in the ring with Dante on a show, just the two of us, like, meant a lot to me.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
funny. Like I noticed that too. Like you like to put like the notice at you, even with rumbles and stuff. And like I will go back to Legacy as timeless a little bit, but I want to talk about like Phil. Phil Cardigan's been on this podcast a couple of times. Me and him, we've done coffee podcasts. If anybody's interested, make sure you go on the channel, go check it out. We try really bad coffee and try to figure out how to activate it. But anyway, he came out and and he kind of poked at you and spit coffee in your face. So, how do you feel about that?
I mean, I'm worse. I've had worse stuff happen to me, most of which you've seen with Vargas. But like the thing that really got me is that like I was getting, you could rewatch it. I was getting really fired up towards the end of that. I was starting to go in on everybody in the ring. You know what I mean? They were about to get some generational words out of my mouth, and he interrupted it. So that definitely stung a little bit. Also because I got no offense in. It was like punch, punch, punch. 20 people gang up on me and throw me out, which makes sense because like one person couldn't just eliminate me.
Right.
But yeah, it was frustrating. So I would love to get in the ring with Phil. I mean, teach him a lesson.
Maybe at one of the Cap TVs or maybe one of the regular Creative Pro shows. I'm here for it.
Maybe so. That's a challenge.
Maybe so. We'll see. We'll see. So I brought up, Zach's in the chat. He goes, I'm dumb. I didn't think your notifications would go up. It's okay, Zach. You're cool. No worries. No worries. I shut the ringer off. For some reason, it's still, let me put it on silent. I don't know why it did it. Okay. Anyway, so Legacy is Timeless was recent, so you got to be part of that also. So another, and like I said, like I feel like that's your thing pretty much. Like like oh, I'm just gonna put it out there, and I'm the House of Straus pretty much, and so talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, the House of Straus is like it's like my business. So when you're out there, we got to promote it. Like Legacy is Timeless. There's a lot of guys there who aren't on, I'm not normally on shows with. So of course, like right there, I want to get all the attention on me, some spotlight, see if people once again agree with the vision. That was a really fun foray, my first time at Legacy is Timeless. It's somewhere I'd love to wrestle more. We briefly talked about tag stuff, so that might be a future possibility, but it's a great promotion. I had a lot of fun going up there, and yeah, I hope to be back in the future.
Definitely. Shout out to Alex Rojas. He's doing great things over there
great
too.
Guy. It's really a pleasure meeting Alex.
So I love that they do like for charity. I'm always about that. Like on this podcast with a lot of promotions that like give back to charity. So anybody that's not familiar with Legacy is Timeless, you can see I had an interview with Alex Rojas. Definitely go back, check it out, and come on down into Connecticut. So. All right, so WrestlePro is another like sister company pretty much of Creative Pro in New Jersey. I still got to make my way over there and stuff like that. So tell us like one of your favorite moments at WrestlePro.
So currently he's their world champion, CPA, and I got to see his his big win, which was really cool. Like WrestlePro, they have a real special environment, and like obviously it's easier for me to get acquainted with those guys because our schools have such a close relationship, but I feel really privileged that the locker room there has been really cool, and I've really liked working with those guys. There's such a wealth of knowledge at WrestlePro that's really underrated. Like I mean, the names on their shows are crazy, and like those guys glean from those guys. And those guys will show up for the shotgun shows also, which are predominantly what I'm on. Mm-hmm. And it's so fun, like, getting to learn from those guys. Sean Donovan has been awesome to learn from. Dan Moff, too. So, yeah, I've really liked... And not only that, I have a lot of friends at WrestlePro as well, besides, like, guys who help me out with a lot of the mechanics and the character and the other stuff of wrestling. So it's been really cool, like, being able to foray out there more. And... they on my booking sheet that I just posted, they got like a lot of dates, and that's great because it's hard for when you branch out into new promotions for them to quickly like you feel comfortable there, but that's somewhere I definitely feel comfortable. I love those guys; they're awesome.
What's one of your favorite matches you liked working there that you would tell a fan to watch?
Me and Tristan did a trilogy with Primal Fear. And I would say the last two matches we had were very good. That was stuff I was very proud of. There are guys who have been in ROH and a bunch of other places, and they really pushed us when we teamed together. And like the matches got longer and longer, and we got more to build on. So it was it was a privilege working with them. It was very cool.
Awesome. Check that out. Ciara's in the chat. She goes, "Sorry, I'm late." It's funny. I'm going to talk about. It was funny because I feel like I love when one of the VPW shows that she did like kind of like a photo shoot when you and Tristan Kyle, which was just funny just to see like these photos. And this is like things that I live for, like as a fan, that you have fun with the wrestlers, because I've seen those fans like. I've thrown fans under the bus because they're so scared to like meet people like you, and I'm like, they're just like us, like just, like just go say hi or whatever. So moments like this are like fun that you could have. I mean, I know Ciara's like training and stuff like that, but like as a fan that she could have with you guys. So maybe you want to elaborate on that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a me thing too. I'm trying to like be more welcoming. I grew up like disgustingly, completely tunnel vision obsessed with wrestling. So like that like alienated a lot of people, and a lot of people, there's a perception of wrestling with some people that is not very favorable. So like I kind of have to break it instinctually as an adult that like now I'm in a wrestling environment. A lot of people are excited there to be wrestling. Like, so I'm definitely still working on letting my guard down, but I'm really grateful for the people that support me. I'm gonna try to be less scary at the merch table from now on. But I promise, even if I look grumpy on the inside, I'm grateful, and we could just chat. If anything, you wanna have a good conversation with me, let's talk wrestling, any wrestling. I watch basically everything, and it's all I love. So there you go.
There you go. So you can make it approachable pretty much with that. All right, let's talk about a little bit of Blitzkrieg. It's nice because I'm trying to bring up like some of these promotions that you've like worked at too. So if people don't live in like New York and can't go to Creator Pro, even though you could like watch some of this stuff, like maybe they can come see you at like New Jersey or like Connecticut, Massachusetts, wherever it is. So I know recently you're also been showing up a little bit at Blitzkrieg. So I know you had a little bit of like a dark match originally, and then now they had their RetroCon, which I heard some cool stuff from some of the guys and stuff like that. So how was that, like with everything going on, and the crowd probably had to be insane crowd too also, right? Like,
yeah, it was cool. It was a great turnout. Working in front of the retro crowd people was so fun because it's like, some of them know wrestling, some of them don't. There's a little bit of wrestling when you walk around at RetroCon and look at the booths and stuff. So like I love stuff like that where you walk out and everyone's just like, you know what I mean? Some people get terrified, but I love a good challenge, and that was one of my favorite parts of that weekend. I remember I wrestled Spike from Chaotic, who's incredibly talented. I really like her. She's been on Open a lot recently, so I'm glad that she's starting to, find new horizons and stuff like that. But I wrestled her, and like, it was so fun. There was this the crowd was pretty tired because it was day 2 of the convention, latter half. But there was this one girl that I was able to rile up so much, and I like being a little bit of a troll. I like getting under people's skin a little, so that I got a lot of pleasure out of that. And I had a pretty solid match with Spike too, so it was fun.
Shout out to Chase Del Monte and Max Master doing great things up in NEPA school. Check that out. Great stuff. Spike's great. Such a good stuff. So did you buy anything at the RetroCon? Did you spend a lot of money?
I wish they're in my car. I wish I could bring them out right now. But I found some really cheap wrestling memorabilia. Good deal. I think a lot of people know like the WWE toy belts from the 2010s. I was able to find 2002's Cruiserweight belt and Intercontinental, which was really cool. I liked holding those because like it's kind of hard to find those old like merch belts. Mm-hmm. So if I see those somewhere, like a flea market or a con like that, I definitely try to pick them up. And I got 2 for $20, so I thought it was a great deal.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah,
not bad at all. So that's cool. I heard a couple of people like dropped a bunch of money at the show, and I was like, maybe it's best I go.
I mean, our coach is Brian Myers. You know what I mean? So like the collector habit kind of rubs off. Sometimes I have to stop myself, but like. Some of these guys I see, and I'm like, I don't know how you guys do it. It's crazy.
Oh, like Leo Sparrow, pretty much.
Oh, I don't think he was too crazy that day. I'm not going to name who was, but there was definitely a bigger culprit. To be fair, WWE is like these they're releasing like these statue action figures that are pretty high quality.
Mhm.
And I saw a Terry Funk one, and I was like biting my tongue. I was like, I can't do it. It's like $100.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I know when like Leo was on the podcast that he had like the whole memorabilia like behind him, and then we just started talking about like everything. So I feel like, you know, there should be like a documentary pretty much of like go to all the wrestlers' houses and go check out all the memorabilia. Like, how big is yours? Like, I think they kind of cool. I think the fans would enjoy something like that, you know? Like, you guys are big, you know, like marks like us, pretty much. So.
Yeah, I'm imagining, like, did you ever see the Mick Foley Santa Claus movie?
Yes.
I'm imagining that, but it's just every cat person's memorabilia collection. I feel like that'd be cool.
That'd be kind of cool. Ciara said, me when I'm in Target. I see all those videos, like, in general, like, when everybody would, like, go and hunting down in Target. I mean, you even seen the Young Bucks, like, in their videos on YouTube stuff that, like, they be going hunting down looking for their stuff. I remember those couple episodes, like, when they first came out, like, with the AEW stuff. They went to their local Target waiting like every week to find their, you know, just to see it in Target.
Yeah. My favorite trope is always when those guys flip booked against someone the next week and they see them in the store, pick it up, throw it.
Oh, God. Can't. Okay, another promotion we got to give a shout out to is CEP. I know recently you tag team with Nick Robles, you know, that you guys worked the Tunis brothers a little bit. So talk to us a little bit about that.
CEP is like an up and coming company. We've kind of like, I'm not gonna say we, because like they've been very good to me, but I'm not like, that's Joe Ocasio and Dixon. That's their company.
Yeah.
But they've been very cool. You know, they've been running private events for a really long time, which I was on, and recently they've been doing some really cool shows on Long Island, which I've been proud to be a part of, especially because it's a very nice locker room. There's been like very good turnouts because they're going into a part of Long Island that doesn't have a lot of wrestling. And it's been really amazing. Like, Ocasio, wrestling's kind of like going into the real job world where you try to work somewhere, but they're like, you need to get more experience other places. So you're like, where do I go? Yeah. And the answer for me early on was CEP and Joe Ocasio. He gave me a lot of bookings early on and took a chance on me. And I'm forever grateful for that. And not only that, but a lot of us at CP are going to be on the NWA on September 28th, which I'm very excited for. Yeah. You know, again, as just a fan of wrestling in general, like wrestling on the NWA is something like I never would have dreamed of. So it's very exciting.
That's awesome. I'm excited for you guys, and he's doing some great things too, as like he's still like healing up. So like I think he's coming back soon, correct? Like to wrestling, like to wrestle. Did he come back? Not yet.
I believe he did an 8-man tag at CP.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, he's been making his comeback recently, which I'm very excited about because like there's not a lot of people in the area right now with the type of intensity Joe has. I love watching him. Yeah,
definitely. So I got to come to one of those shows. So I definitely put it on my list to make it to my shows. So. Okay, so another thing that I like to talk about, like, and I feel like I can talk about this with you on this podcast pretty much. I love when you have, like, the supportive families supporting their kids and everything like that with wrestling and stuff like that. So I know you posted on Instagram the other day that your mom had took the photo and put it in a scrapbook pretty much of you getting killed by Vargas pretty much. So talk to us about that. Like, talk a little bit about, like, your childhood and wrestling, you know, like, how that was, like, of you saying, like, okay, this is what I want to do, like, you know, how it was, like, you know, like family coming to shows to see you. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so before I start on that, though, this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, where, like, my mom will be pasting these photos in her scrapbook, and she's like, when are there going to be less ones of you, like, dying? And I'm like, soon, Mom, I swear. But when I was a kid, I had a short-lived tradition with my aunt where she would take me to Target, and I'd get to pick out a few, like 3 presents that she'd get me. And one of them was it was a WWE toy line called Rumblers, which I still love to this day because it's what got me into wrestling. And it was a 6-way Hell in a Cell pack. Mm-hmm. And I was very into cartoons and stuff of that sort. Like I was like really in the trifecta of Nickelodeon, Disney, and Cartoon Network. So I just assumed it was a cartoon I hadn't seen. And,
Mhm.
I take the toy home when I'm playing with it. My uncle tips me off. He's like, like this, these like real people, right? Like people do this for real. And I was like, what? No way. And so I go on YouTube and I remember the first two things I saw, such a stark contrast between them. But the first one, which I think made me a fan for life, was the end of Survivor Series 2006, I believe, where Taker comes back out of the flaming casket, beats up like 20 dudes and Randy Orton. And I was like, I think that was the moment I became a fan for life. But the second thing was, and people always laugh when I say it, the Muppets on Raw. That's some entertaining stuff. That's a good episode of Raw. I don't care what anyone says. But those were the two that like got me into it. Then I found out where Raw aired on TV and I watched my first episode, and from then on it was just like learning everything I can, eventually branching out, learning about different companies, different countries, and yeah, to this day, most of what I consume is still just pro wrestling.
That's cool. So, and your family is all like supportive, obviously, of this, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think once because like, no one really understands what wrestling is, especially when you try to explain getting into wrestling.
Yeah.
But I think that when they saw I had like an Instagram page with like actual people interacting, and I go to shows where like people engage with me, they're like, "Oh, this is real," and then they became like more supportive.
That's awesome. I always
Yeah.
feel like that's like fun to like touch base with because I've gone to shows and I've made friends with wrestlers' parents and I sit with them and stuff like that. It's just so cute to like see them being like so supportive because I know a lot of people aren't supportive of the choices and stuff. I guess it also depends what kind of wrestling you're into also. But there's plenty of times that like I'm sitting with like the mom or the dad and it's like they get all apeshit into it and like the the shirts, the everything. I just think that's wholesome, content
Yeah.
pretty much. So
I love that too, but now I have this new thing where I get a kick out of when my parents go to a show and they don't know like what's happening on the show. I
Right.
remember my dad and my brother went to the Cap Show hunting season. Our big guest was Rhino, and they see Rhino come out, and they're both like, they both pop, and they're like, what? They're like, what's he doing here? What the hell? Like, it was so unexpected, and I got to see them react to that, so I got a good kick out of that.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that. All right, let's see. Oh, okay, so what are some names on your bucket list to wrestle? Put it out there because you don't know what could happen.
Ooh, yeah. I'm gonna go with, there's a lot, but I really like how we do it at Cap. Like each year we have a bit of a discussion with like dream opponents, and I think we do one person from the school, one person on TV, one like unrealistic one.
Mhm.
And I believe my picks were Bobby, because Bobby's incredible. Like I'm always in awe whenever I see when him and Bryce were still teaming at Open. Like they were so smooth and like they perfected wrestling in Open. I think they were the best team there for a long time. So like just watching them was amazing, and I love him on his own too because he's so creative. I love really unorthodox wrestlers. And then I'd say Bronson is also on my list because I'd say he's taught me the most about wrestling. He's been my biggest mentor. He's like the guy who sat me down. He's like, look, here's how the business works. Here's what you need to do. Taught me a lot about psychology, work ethic, physique, like everything that goes into wrestling. So I owe so much to him. And then my unrealistic pick is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, who's currently having a really good and very random indie run, Paul London, who I had the pleasure of meeting and picking his brain, and it legitimately changed my career. So he's definitely someone that, like, if I wrestled him, I'd be like, all right, I'm doing pretty good for myself.
Well, he's been making his waves around in the indies like crazy. Like he's been working a bunch of people. It's nuts.
Yeah.
Like all over
And
the
he's been-
place.
No one else is having matches like he's having. I
Yeah.
love it. They're so crazy and unpredictable. Like, a lot of you go to a lot of indie shows when you're trying to get on them and then wrestling on them too, and you kind of get like a little, not super, but a little desensitized to a lot of the wrestling. But he's someone who every time I see something he's doing new, I'm like, that's crazy. No one is doing anything like that.
Yeah.
So he's always been innovative. It's cool to see him like He doesn't wrestle the same way he did in 2000, but like he's still able to be unpredictable and extremely creative, and that's something like I really admire. And I'm like, Paul's someone I see, and I'm like, man, I hope I'm that slick when I'm 40. You know?
I will see. And like I said, you never know what can happen. Landon Hale just wrestled him a couple of weeks ago at Action. So shout out to Matt the Mouth. We love, Matt Griffin down there.
Yeah,
So
that's amazing. That's definitely one I need to check out.
Yeah, definitely. Action should be on the bucket list of you guys.
Oh, 100%.
Definitely. And I didn't get my butt down there because I've been dying to go down there. So, we'll see. So, all right, let's do some of these fan tweets. Actually, let's start with Nomi, because Nomi, like I said, was on last week. And her question was, she goes, why are you such a drama king?
I mean, it's kind of gonna call me a drama king, but like, what exactly? Let's analyze. What am I being a drama king about? Her goading me into being assaulted by Vargas from behind. You know what I mean? Like, let's see this from my perspective. Like at Cap, everyone cracks on me, everyone jokes on me. I get jumped from behind, people belittle me. Like, if you treat someone like an animal, they're gonna act like an animal. You know what I mean? Like, all I've been asking for all these months is a little bit of respect, especially from Gabby. So I think it's a very disrespectful question. I'm not going to entertain it anymore.
Okay, we're going to move on. All right, so we got a fan tweet from Good Cop, Bad Cop. So he likes messing with everybody on the podcast. So he says, with Will Straus being an anagram of Walrus List, how is Will ranking the Atlantic and the Pacific walrus on his favorite walrus list?
Wish I had more information on the subject. I'm interested. I think I do actually like this guy's style. He might be House of Strauss material.
I was thinking, like, when I saw Walrus, I started thinking of the Beatles and Cuckoo Cuckoo and all that stuff when he wrote this tweet. I was like,
yeah, I'm so wrestling brained. I started thinking of Paul Heyman. But it's probably Pacific and Atlantic at number 2, Paul Heyman at number 1. So there's my answer.
I can't. All right, so this fan question's from Russ. He says, are you a gamer? And which wrestling video is your favorite? And did you create yourself in and made yourself the champion?
Oh, of course. Who doesn't? Yeah, but I would say, like, I'm not a big gamer. At one point, like, I feel like if you asked any of my friends you had on the show, especially in wrestling, like, they'll tell them this thing about, like, there's a weird period in my life where, like, video games now just kind of make me depressed. I play them sometimes, but usually, like, they're like a downer for me. It's kind of weird. Except for wrestling games. Yeah, except for wrestling games. I love wrestling games. They've just gotten a little stale recently. But, a lot of people are going to be mad because they want me to say, like, like No Mercy 2000 or something. Or what's the Japanese one? I'm not sure. But something before my time. But when I was a kid, the best game that came out when I was playing wrestling games was WWE 2K14. So I'm always going to have a soft spot in my heart for that game.
Okay. I like that question.
Sorry. I'm gonna hurt a lot of people's feelings with that.
No, maybe not.
2013.
Maybe not, pretty much. All right, let's do a question that's dear to my heart onto this podcast. So, Wrestling with Positivity. I'm still debating if I'm going to do one in November. We'll see if I feel like doing one. But anyways, I like to bring this question up on this podcast. So is there anything that comes to mind that you can share with us? Something maybe like you've done for a fan, maybe a fan's done for you, maybe a wrestler's done for you, maybe something you've done for a wrestler, something that, we wouldn't know that you can share.
Yeah, I'd say, like, earlier when I mentioned, like, I really appreciate guys who, like, really look out for me on that genuine level, and, like, they'll level with me, they'll tell me things I don't want to hear. When I'm upset, they'll be there for me, and, like, they won't, like, try to make me feel better. They'll be like, all right, here's how we get better, but, like, they keep it real. And, like, people like that are really important to me. I kind of alluded to it earlier, but I didn't have a lot of friends before wrestling. So I was solo for many years, just in my personal life outside of family. So I'm very blessed to have people who look out for me closely, like, and those people are Bronson, Gabby, even though she, can be annoying sometimes. Tristan, of course, like, we team a lot, but he's genuinely one of my best friends. And Yutsik Susio as well. Like, I could go on with a lot of names, and like they can text me if they're mad I didn't mention them, and I'll be like, yay or nay. But
That's
yeah,
not
really,
nice.
the community that I've gotten in the locker room, like from certain guys, it means the world to me.
I like that. I like that a lot. I know Tristan wanted you to like talk about him if you want to like add anything else to that.
Yeah, okay, that's what he gets. I gave him a little itch. I'm sure he's gonna talk about himself enough when he comes on this show. But yeah, I love him. There, I'll end it on that.
Well, just dropped the bomb. He will be on next week. So
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm such a dick.
he will be on next week. So make sure you're subscribed and follow Indie Wrestling Corner so you can get all the information. So he'll be on next week. So, all right. So, what are some goals of 2024 for you?
Definitely the opponents list I mentioned earlier. If it doesn't happen by the end of the year, I think I want to branch into the South. You know, I read a lot in my free time. Like a lot of people just watch matches, and I watch a lot of matches too. But I love watching interviews also. Like a lot of people think that it's hard to learn about wrestling when like you can't talk to all these people you admire. But like the good thing about the early 2000s was a lot of shoot interviews of those guys talking about like the secrets of wrestling and like how to make it and how they made it is out there. You know what I mean? I watched an amazing Terry Funk and Harley Race interview at a fan convention the other day, and that helped me out a lot. So, and one thing they mentioned definitely was like, all these guys say the same thing about like, you got to branch out of your area eventually if you want to be something. And what I want to do next year is go definitely wrestle more in the South. People may see on my September, I have a Florida date, which is going to be very exciting because that's a step in the right direction. But like, I want to go to your, you know, your Carolinas, your Virginias, your Georgias, and not just, you know, I love New Horizons, but also because of the lineage of wrestling in those places. Like, whenever I'm in a state, I think of the wrestling that was historically significant there. And I think I'm adding my own piece to it when I get to wrestle there.
Yeah.
And that means a lot to me. So that's definitely something that's important to me, going to more places. And yeah, nowadays it's a touchy subject because like people associate the continent with like that controversy from a few years ago. But like wrestling in Europe would be a dream come true for me, genuinely. Like I've always loved WXW, especially since I was watching WXW like, not that it's inappropriate, but like younger than most people should discover it. Like that's how into wrestling I was. Like I still watch it. I'm like, man, I love those days when they had like Walter, Timothy Thatcher, guys like that main eventing down there, Ilya.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so wrestling in places like that, places like OTT in Ireland would be like, that would mean a lot to me. And it's absolutely a goal. Like I got into wrestling to travel the world, and I hope it's something that I can continue to do next year, especially with new places.
Definitely. So I love all the guys in the South down there. It was funny because when I saw Bryce Donovan the other day, he had wrestled Braden Toon. Braden Toon's been on this podcast.
Yeah.
Love him. I'm obsessed with his shooting star press. Love it. So I go to Bryce. I go, you killed my boy. He was like, he goes, all those boys down south suck. And I was like, no. I was like, okay.
Oh man, I remember I saw him for the first time at GCW when I helped out. I liked him quite a bit.
Yeah, he's a good. I still haven't like met him in person, so like we've done our podcasts and everything. So that's why I need to go down south, you know, or I gotta get to like one of the shows that he runs around, whether Jersey or I mean that's awesome that he finally came up to Wrestling Open. So shout out to him. So you know maybe you'll wrestle him one of these days.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
You know, we'll never know. So I have one final question for you. If anybody else has any questions in the chat, please drop it, and then we'll talk about you know what you got coming up. Okay, so like I know you're still like rather new in like you know indie wrestling and everything like that, but we have fans that listen to this podcast, you know, like debating if they want to go into wrestling, you know, or maybe they just started training. Like, what's a piece of advice that you would give them? Stump them on that
I
one.
know. It's like, it's not that I don't have advice. It's just, I want to give a very thoughtful answer because I think it's a very important and fragile thing, and it's something I looked for a lot in interviews before I started training. But
stay away from Vargas.
That's a good one. That's a mistake I've made since the beginning of my career.
Oh man, we gotta get Vargas on this podcast. I have so many questions.
I don't think you're gonna get much outside of growls.
No,
so,
I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe someone to translate. But I think for someone getting into wrestling, like, it's kind of hard because I'm still learning a lot, and like I'm not comfortable. Sometimes, not a lot, but every so often, someone will ask me for advice. I'm like, oh, why? And which is a me problem, but that's okay because that's something that's gonna, confidence comes with time and more experience. But I would say, like, if you know that you really want to be a wrestler, learn what it entails, and make sure to not even do all the things it entails. Go above and beyond, because those are the guys that like really succeed, and that's something that I wish I was better with when I started. It's something that towards the end of this summer, again, I'm trying to work even harder than I have before, because like I've done pretty well for myself locally, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not much. And I know where I want to be, which is I want to wrestle for a living. So definitely as soon as possible, make sure you go the extra mile and work hard. And if you know you really want it, don't quit. Trust me, like try to stick it out. Wrestling is extremely fucking hard, but it's given me so many blessings in my life, and I've barely had a career. So I don't regret a thing about getting into wrestling.
See, I think that's great advice for, it stumped you there, but I think that was really great advice that you gave out, pretty much. All right, let's talk about your dates that you covered up here. So I'm going to share this on the screen. So I like that you guys are starting to post like your monthly schedule because, I'm the type of person that like sometimes I want to see people. So I'm looking like for the list so I can be like, all right, I can make this work pretty much. So I appreciate when you do it, and I appreciate it when the promoters put out their lists for the year of their dates and stuff like that so I can schedule around it. So tell everybody about, what you got coming up.
Yeah, so you can find it on my Instagram, but I got 3 WrestlePro dates. For my New Jersey folks, come out to WrestlePro. It's really good shows. You're going to see a lot of guys who, a lot of guys who are very talented, and I think are going to be big stars. I mean, right now, like constantly on Ring of Honor and AEW, Ace of Space is on there all the time, and I love all those guys. Specifically LSC, so fucking good.
Yeah.
So definitely come out to WrestlePro. It's an amazing promotion, and especially Taco Fest, because not only is there great wrestling, there's a lot of great food. I did it last year, and it was one of my favorite experiences in wrestling so far. That's fun. Then, I'm going to be returning to Blitzkrieg again, which I love the environment at Blitzkrieg too. Like, if you're in Connecticut and you want to see some local wrestling, like I think Blitzkrieg, like, top tier. It's one of my favorite places on the Indies right now, and somewhere I'm very proud to be breaking into right now. Then I'm going to be on Cap September 22nd. Vargas is going to apologize to me. Yeah. It's at the order of Ariel and Nix, and if he doesn't, there will be consequences. So maybe we'll finally get that big Straus W over Vargas. I don't know. We'll see. Oh. Maybe he'll join the House of Straus. And then something I'm very proud of, and I'm very happy to be part of such a big accomplishment for Joe Ocasio and Dixon, is CEP and NWA are going to be in Huntington, New York on September 28th. It's going to be a phenomenal show. The NWA has been branching out to a lot of territories and new indie wrestling places, and I feel like it really harkens back to the old days in a great way, and I'm really excited to be a part of that growth that they're having. Especially, this is just it's going to be a really fun shot, and I hope there will be more between me and the NWA in the future, because it truly is a great federation.
Awesome. I'm going to try to make it that day. I might be a little tired that day and come back from Aruba the night before, so we'll see. We'll see about it. So, but a bunch of my friends are going to be at that one, so we'll see if I can make it to that. So, So
I think you should. It's going to be I think it's gonna be a really good show.
I'm be dead. I'm like, I have to come see my friends. I have to come see them. No, but that's awesome. So definitely, have a bunch of dates. Go check them out. Go tell everybody where they can find you, follow you, merch, all that fun stuff.
Most people I point in the direction of my link tree, which is on my Instagram or Twitter, Will Strausman. Pretty much everything is at Will Strausman. I have a YouTube channel with a little bit of content on it. I'm going to start doing more. I have a Reddit page. I'm going to start posting there. Probably going to branch out to TikTok. But pretty much everything is at Will Strausman. You know what I mean? So if you want to find me and find my dates, find me anywhere under Will Strausman.
Awesome. All the
That's
links.
my ring name plus man.
There you go. I have all the links in the description below. So if you're lazy, I got you covered pretty much. So, yeah. So is there anything else you want to touch base that we haven't touched base on this podcast?
Yeah, I would say this is something I definitely like a life and career goal of mine to get out there more. But like I've had very bad mental health issues for a lot of my life. Wrestling's helped me with a lot of them, so like I'm a big advocate for that. Like I have really, really bad anxiety and depression. I just want anyone to know, even if whether it's wrestling or any other type of dream, like don't let that stuff hold you back. I used to go to cap training like towards the beginning, and I'd be like freaking out in my car before, but I knew what I wanted to do with my life, so I just pushed through it. I worked on techniques. I went to therapy, tried to get everything sorted out, and it's worked out great so far. It's continued to work out great. So I'd say definitely like keep your mental health in check, go to therapy, and take care of yourself. And don't let it get you away from your dreams either. I think that's kind of like the goal I would like to spread the more I get out there.
I love that. I love that very much. Well, thank you for coming onto the podcast and chatting with us. I'm sure you will return with more stuff, eventually, and tell us about, all your travels and all that stuff. But now, it's a start for people to get to know you and all that stuff like that. So.
Yeah, and I could say, as far as teasers in the future, like, I'm a very visual guy, so I think you're going to see, if you want to keep up with me, you're going to see some very cool new looks in the future. It's definitely something I'm investing in.
Oh, more stuff that I could, put photos to on social media.
Maybe I'll upgrade from dogs to cats. That's my hope with you. With everyone else, I hope they'll see it and be like, man, he's got that stuff on.
For dogs
I'm
to
very
cats.
excited for the future of my my physical appearance in wrestling.
I love that. Hey, good cop, bad cop. He said, hey, Tiff, hey, Will. He goes, heading back to start the interview. Catch you later. Thank you so much. So thank you for your question, too. So, thanks, everybody who tuned on in. If you're tuning in later, please leave a like, leave some comments, all that fun stuff. Pretty much, going on there. I'll be back next week with Tristan Kyle. Then I have someone else the week after, which we'll announce next week and everything like that. But, well, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast and chatting with us a little bit.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I was kind of nervous about doing interviews, and I believe this is my first long form one, and I'm very glad it was your show because I had a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. So,
yeah.
And thanks again, everybody who's tuned on in and all your questions and all your support. Ciara's goes cats. I love that. So, well, you guys know the tune. Stay safe. Support independent wrestling. I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good night.